Peaches, it's Shaaba. Welcome back to my channel and thank you for clicking on another video. I hope you're well. Today we are doing something that we have done once before, but with a little twist. You know we normally do Am I the A-holes here. Well, I don't know if you recall, but relatively recently I also did a video where we dived into confessions. We took a look at some confessions that other people had to see if that was another version of storytelling that we could maybe learn something from. I'm not sure if I found it the most insightful. There were some tiny nuggets of wisdom. Mostly it was just really fun, and I'm just curious about what people did when they were younger, and what it led to was a bunch of you lovely peaches also leaving some confessions. Some of them were down in the comment sections, others were sent to me in DMs, and thank you, I truly do. I don't know what this is about. There you go. I unpatriarched it. I thank you for trusting me with your confessions. I promise they will remain entirely anonymous. And I thought we could go through some of them today and see what some of your gorgeous little juicy confessions are. And again, see if we can learn from them. Or maybe just have a good laugh and feel good about reclaiming a little bit of our past that we used to cringe at. How's that sound? You ready? When I was like 5 or 6, I would lick the salt off the pretzels and put them back in the bag. This kind of sounds like that one where the person spat into the pasta water. I'm kind of thinking, why God, why? But then I'm also thinking, I see, because I personally don't like the carby taste of pretzels. I think pretzels taste like cardboard, but I do like the little sour cream and chive, outside. So you know what? Kudos to you for having the balls to do what I probably would want to do, but have never done. My parents were very confused as to why all the pretzels were weirdly stale. Not necessarily a confession, because they found out and still make fun of me to this day. Well, you old pretzel licker, you got what you had coming to you. Really, you're just the brave one that does what we all dared never to do. I accidentally stole a jar of mayo. A jar of mayo. I accidentally stole a jar of mayo at 8, putting it in my pocket whilst I was busy with my hands. Walked out the shop, got home, felt it in my pocket, then threw it over a fence so my parents wouldn't find out. That's so funny to me. I see it. You were 8 years old. That's great 8 years old logic. But the reality is that your parents are probably more stressed out at the fact that they thought someone was vandalizing their local area with mayonnaise, or throwing it at their fence, than they would have been if you were like, whoops, I stole this jar of mayo, and you took it back to the store. I also thought that condoms were equivalent to drugs because of not being educated properly, and almost got my parents in trouble. Well then, the mayo story totally reminds me of the time when I was, I think, probably around the same age, maybe a bit older. Yeah, I was older. Yeah, probably like 12, 13. My proper tween phase. I was in a shop, and I'm showing my age, this is how old I am. I was in like a newsagent's type shop, and they had those aliens. Did you ever have them? They were like plastic egg shapes. Think Kinder Egg, but bigger and not chocolate. And inside was like goo and a tiny, no, it wasn't even that tiny. I think it was like a biggish kind of alien. And you would put it in water and maybe it would grow. Maybe I'm making that up. It's been so long since I've had one of these things. But then you'd have this like squishy little fetus alien that you then, what did we do with them? I don't know. But the point is, it's a squishy alien and an egg, and I wanted it, and I knew that I wanted it, and I had it in my hand, and I got distracted with all the other things in typical Shaaba fashion, and I walked out the shop, not realising that I had it in my hand still, until I was part way down the road. And then I was like, oh. I mean, I didn't say I was too scared and Asian and forced into being a good girl at that point, but I was myself over the fact that I'd accidentally stolen this thing, and I was walking to give it back. But as I was walking to give it back, I saw a guy who I then later realised, once I went back to the shop to hand it to them, was the security guard, and he had followed me down the road. And why didn't he say something? Now I'm questioning if he was actually the security guard, but no, he absolutely was, because he followed me back into the shop and he saw me hand it back and he went, and I was like, oh my God, I could have gone to jail. My entire life would have been ruined. I mean, I probably wouldn't have gone to jail over a little alien egg, but that was like one of the most stressful experiences of my life. So I feel you. I feel you on the Mayo front. I share my confession with you. Do with it what you will. Please don't send me to jail. Another confession, shall we? Let's get the heat off of me. I did ballet as a kid, and in one ballet recital, I farted repeatedly. There are 2 types of people in the world. Some people find farts really funny. Some people think they're absolutely gross and disgusting. I am a funny fart person. Just letting you know now. This is so childish. Those were huge but silent farts, and also deadly. I was recovering from a stomach bug. Oh no, those are the worst kind of farts. And I lied about feeling all good and fit enough to take part in the recital because I love doing ballet and I couldn't think of missing it. Bless you, you little farty ballet dancer, you. So every now and then during the recital, I'd let out a huge cloud of suffocation suffocating for asthma. Seriously, it even made me gag. It smelled like something had died under the porch in summer heat. No. I'm laughing because this isn't me, but the reality is, when I'm in a situation where I can smell a hideous fart, I get so grumpy. No one even suspected me. I looked too sweet. By the end of the recital, the stink was just everywhere. As we were leaving, the stagehands were taking up the floors on the stage and in the wings to find the poor dead thing supposedly stuck up the place. No, this is very embarrassing. Normally when I look at these confessions, my inner monologue is, I encourage you, babe, to confess. Let it out! Pardon the pun. Let it out, because you will feel free and liberated. This is one of the confessions. You keep that in. You let the fart out, but you keep that confession in. No good will come of you sharing this with anyone, ever. Take this to your grave. Thank you for sharing it anonymously here. Bless you. And excuse you, apparently. Oh, stop, Shaaba, stop. I was about 8 or 9, and in the back of our minivan, this car full of senior citizens cut my dad off. As we passed them, I looked over and made eye contact with the driver and gave them the single finger salute. It's the other finger, I'm demonstrating it to you. It's the obscene finger, for those of you who don't know. They all did look like they laughed, but when we got home I was terrified that they called the police and gave them my description, and any minute the fuzz was going to show up and haul my butt to jail and throw away the key. This is so adorable. And again, the reality is that the narrative from your parents probably found that really funny, if they noticed. And definitely the old people would have done, because now I would find it so hilarious if a little child flipped me the bird. Here's a confession. I've cheated on exactly one test. This is making me think of the cheater on the other one, just, cheating in school, because the cheating in the other confession video, that was super buttholy. Like, that didn't make me feel good at all. Let's see. In middle school Bible class, private Christian school, we were required to memorize short passages from the Bible and write them down as a quiz or test. I was very good at it, and at school in general. I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, excuse me. See, that means you were really good at these tests, because if someone sneezes, it means it comes true. Anyway, once I completely blanked on the next verse, I panicked, turned up to look at what the kid next to me was writing down, and that was enough to jog my memory. I wrote down the rest of the passage and got a perfect score. 15 years later, I A, think that it's a fairly trivial thing to panic about. I agree, it's fine. And B, appreciate the irony that I cheated on a Bible test. And C, still remember exactly what it looked like and how it felt as I looked and as I turned the paper in. Never again. Bless you. This is one of those confessions which is a learning moment, but it wasn't a horrible one. You are nothing like the cheater in the other confessions video. Well done you for learning a lesson from it. I have a confession. As a child, we had a couple of gorgeous wooden wing chairs that my dad reupholstered himself. One day I was lying on the floor next to the chair and noticed a swell in the wood grain that curved around like the letter G. My then 6-year-old brother's name is Greg. Oh no, I see where this is going. So I traced the wood grain with a ballpoint pen, oh no, and wrote the letter G on the wood of the chair. And since I'd already committed to tracing the G, I wrote the whole name Greg on the wood. Oh no. Afterwards, I realised how stupid that was when the ballpoint pen didn't wash off the wood. I didn't want to get in trouble, so I didn't mention it to my parents. Later that day, I walked past my mum yelling at my brother. I asked what happened, and my mum said my brother decided to write his name on the wooden trim of the chair. I'm sure I turned red. I thought the difference in handwriting was obvious, or that my brother would just deny it since I knew he didn't do it. But instead, he just apologised. Got a good brother! And said he thought it would wash off. Oh. Stunned, realising he just took the blame for me. You owe Greg. OP. You owe Greg. And I didn't have to confess. I got out of there. I'm still stunned he took the blame. No one ever knew it was actually me who defaced that beautiful chair, and I had to look at that ballpoint pen on the chair for another decade. Well, that is punishment enough. The guilt that would have eaten you up inside for having to stare at that chair is punishment. But you know what? This is exactly what I was talking about. Unlike the farty situation, I encourage you, my love. I encourage you. Have you told Greg? You should have a chat with Greg, and then you should tell your parents, be like, hey, by the way, you know that chair? That was me. You will feel so much better for doing it. I just know that will improve your quality of life a tiny, tiny marginal bit, but do it and you'll feel good. Oh my goodness, thank you for sharing your confession, my love. I'm really enjoying these videos. In middle school, I received notes and calls from a secret admirer. I fantasized about who it might be. I found out it was a very unpopular boy. I was not very popular either, but more popular than he. I love this. Maybe you can have like a little one of those geeky romances. You know how like you see it in the movies and it's the popular kids that always go somewhere, but you're like, no, this is our love story. And we're the outcast of the school. But that makes you so freaking cool. I will take away the movie script in my mind and go back to your confession. I wrote him a long scathing note telling him I could never love someone as ugly as he was. I was generally a good kid and this wasn't typical behaviour for me. Current me can't fathom how I could have behaved in such a horrible manner. Is no excuse. Oh babe, I'm sorry. Look, as you said, current you wouldn't have done that. So A, you've clearly grown, which is a good thing. B, I was totally wrong with my movie plot. I'm sorry, I rescind that. And 3, or C, because I can't remember if I was going with numbers or letters, the fact that it was so out of character just highlights, and this is true, this is genuinely a good principle that I would love to put out in the world. We all do assholey things. That doesn't make us assholey people. Sometimes we can do things that are out of character, and that's a good thing that it's out of character, because we can't be perfect all the time, and it doesn't mean that it is who we are, you know? Sometimes the small outlier things that we do don't define us, and maybe if you think back to that situation now, you can understand, maybe to an extent, why you acted the way that you acted. Obviously it wasn't great, as you said, there's no excuse, but it could be that you were bullied. As you said, you were not popular, but perhaps more popular than he was. Maybe little you didn't understand the impact that was having on your mental health and the pressure of being in a school pecking order, which isn't a good environment for anyone. We all struggle during school. So maybe that's what led you to do what you did. Sometimes I think it's really useful to look back and reflect on these moments with an adult brain, because you give yourself a little bit of slack. You know, you're like, oh, cool, it's still not the right thing to do. Like, it might not be your fault, but it's still your problem, one of those scenarios. But it can feel liberating, in a way, to justify, but not excuse some of the arsehole actions that we have from our past. I definitely know that I've done that a couple of times, and it's made me feel a little bit less cringe thinking about it, to know that there was a reason, if that makes sense. When I got Facebook, I thought I could look him up and apologise. It took a while, but I located him through him being Facebook friends with another person in our school with a unique last name. When I finally got to his Facebook page, he'd just recently passed away from cancer a month before. Oh, I'm so sorry, my love. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that happened to that person. I'm so sorry that that happened to you. But you know what? 2 things. 1, it's not your fault at all that that person passed away, so you can't take any blame or feel sad about that. And 2, it was really brave of you to take the steps to find this person and try and reach out to them. So sometimes it's not always the most helpful thing to do. Sometimes that benefits you more than it does the other person to bring up stuff from the past. But in this situation, I feel like, you know, it was totally understandable why you'd want to reach out to someone, and you tried. You did your best. May the other person rest in peace. May you go forward with this incredible life lesson, and you're not a butthole, because you have great self-reflection skills. So thank you for sharing your confession. Oh, that was a deep one. But genuinely, I'm very grateful that you shared that. My friend cheats on his wife with numerous women, and I know because I'm one of them. When I was little, under 7, I had a habit of hiding things to get my parents' attention after my sibling was born. Until then, I'd been an only child, both my parents were at home all the time, and my dad would always have time for me. It started by hiding the batteries from the TV remote. Then I realised there were more batteries in the house, so I'd hide the whole remote. It's funny what kids do. Then later on, it was a magnetic key for the kitchen child locks. I was never caught, and it caused many arguments. I'd always return the item after a few hours by hiding it somewhere in plain sight, so it looked like my parents just missed whatever I took. I see you, you clever little bean. It never got me the attention though. Still to this day, I don't feel bad about it, even though I know it wasn't good, but I now understand that I was severely neglected, and I'm now in therapy, so I guess teeny tiny me did what they needed to do. Exactly that, my love. This is exactly what I was trying to talk about. You know, having that self-reflection can kind of make you realise that actually you're not a bad person. You were just a person with needs, and being a tiny little squish, you don't always know what those needs are. It takes your adult experience now to be able to reflect and be like, oh, I get it. So yeah, don't feel bad. Kids often know what they want, but not how to get it, how to communicate that correctly, and also what the right course of action is. This is all a learning moment, and it's totally okay, my love. Opie also put a little disclaimer in. I feel like it's only right to also share that with you. They mentioned that for reference, my mum was and still is a mentally unstable narcissist, an alcoholic, and just generally not a nice person. I even considered getting a restraining order against her. I wanted to clarify in case I sounded like a butthole. She's out of my life now. Look, even if those things were not the case, you didn't sound like a butthole. That's the whole point of these things. We learn and we grow from our experiences, and that's okay. Sending love. Alright, I think we have one more confession left. Shall we take a look? Confession time. Hi Shaaba. Hello. Many years ago, during a time, my family had a fish tank. We kept live worms to feed them. Wait, fish eat worms? I didn't know fish ate worms. There we go. Oh, of course fish eat worms, because when people go fishing, they hook little maggots on, right? Every day of school day. One Christmas, my older sisters and I thought it'd be a hilarious prank to put some worms in our dad's glass of wine. We thought he'd go to drink it, see the worms and be shocked, and then we'd all have a good laugh. Our dad, however, simply drank the glass of wine filled with the little live worms and didn't notice a thing. Oh, did no one think to go, Dad, stop. Dad, you were going to be like, hang on. There's worms in your glass. My sisters and I swore we'd never tell him. 30 years later, I still remember the secret worm shame. As far as a confession goes, you're not going to jail. You're fine. We can learn from that. We can live from the worm shame. I'm sure there's a life lesson to be learned there. Don't put worms in people's drinks. It's interesting because it definitely gets those moments, don't you, where you're just like, you know what, at some point it's probably just best to just not tell them. He's drank them. What are you gonna do? For an April Fool's one time, me and my stepmom put a bunch of salt instead of sugar into my dad's tea, and he drank it and we were like... And he didn't notice. He was like, why are you staring at me? We were like, we salted your tea. And he was like, oh, did you? I had no idea. We were like, how did you have no idea? You just ruined our April Fools. Anyway, I wouldn't do that now. Solidarity to you, my little drink meddling peach. We can learn and we can not do it again. All right. I had so much fun filming this video. I had so much fun listening to your gorgeous confessions, and I still maintain that there is learning that can be done with all kinds of storytelling. Am I making it too deep? Probably. But would I be Shaaba if I didn't? Absolutely not. If you enjoyed this video, my loves, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. I'll catch you next time with another video. For now, be kind and have a great day. And feel free to send me some more confessions if you want to downstairs. We can do it again. Bye.